Welcome back, everybody. This is your favorite podcast, Far From Finished, with your favorite host, Daniel.
And Josh, thanks for listening again. We're back with another interesting episode about some interesting topics, and glad you guys are here with us today.
We're always glad to have you here. And if you haven't listened before, welcome to the fan club. I'm kidding, there's no fan club. And if you've listened, welcome back. We're glad to have you. It's been a week or so, and we're glad to be back and talk about things with people and each other.
Well, just mainly each other, but also other people. If you guys have feedback, we can talk to you guys about it too.
Here we are back, Far From Finished.
Yeah!
Alright, guys, so as you know, the world ended in 2012.
Did it though?
It didn't.
I mean,
Maybe. I don't know.
It's a conspiracy theory. It's a good one.
I don't know. I was just thinking about it. I saw something the other day, and it really sparked my interest.
Did it spark your interest?
I'm not saying we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories on here necessarily. It's just get your juices full. It's, a little warm up. Get your juices.
From time to time, we'll get into the weird and strange things that conspire in this world we live in today.
You got to keep you on your toes, first of all. Keep you thinking. And, just keep it interesting a little bit. Spice things up a little bit.
Throw some paprika up in that bitch.
Keep those noggins jogging. Jogging the noggins.
Jogging them freaking noggins. So basically, the conspiracy theory is that in 2012, the world ended based off of the theory that, I think Daniel can explain it better than I can.
I really can't explain it that much better, but I'm going to do my best for the people. So, Stephen Hawking's basically created this thing with this group of scientists called CERN that he was working with. And in a sense, it would create a black hole. It was a particle that would create a black hole, and some people believe that it would destroy the universe. Not even Stephen Hawking more so believed that it would take us into that black hole into a vacuum decay, which is not necessarily saying that we would die, but we would be taken into this black hole.
Correct.
Which is kind of an interesting thought, because saying that we were taken from that and taken into this black hole, keep in mind, we're not saying that everyone died in 2012, but is it possible that we were taken into a black hole and we're now living in another reality?
Well, see, that is possible because it would kind of explain the theories on the Mandela effect as far as, I personally can't remember the Mandela effect even being a thing until Nelson Mandela died in 2013, and people were like, "What? I thought he was already dead. I thought he died in prison a long time ago."
I didn't even think about that.
Right?
It wasn't even a thing until he died in 2013,
and
which would be after 2012.
Right,
if anything.
And so at that point, you have all of these different things, the Bernstein Bears, J.C. Penney's, all this other shit that people are disagreeing on, no, it's this. No, I remember this clearly from my childhood. Well, is that possible that that's because these two people grew up in different realities and were merged together through this black hole, and they just have to deal with that shit now, and they have to find out where the truth is. They might both be telling the truth, but they'll never know, and because they got bursted into this new reality without even having a choice, basically.
See, this is what I'm saying, is if we were to actually go through a black hole, and that was to be actually possible, and we're now in this reality that is in a new black hole, would it not be possible for our consciousness to then collectively, if we had to move from one area, no one's ever been through a black hole. No one knows what happens if you go through a black hole. So to say that our consciousness has to go from wherever it was, and then whatever it has to go through inside of a black hole and all the stuff that happens throughout that, and finally land into this new area, who's to say our collective conscious has to translate from that point to this now point that we are possibly at, if that is the case. So things aren't going to always be what they were. Some people are going to remember at what it was, and some people are just going to only recollect what it is now.
Right.
So it's like bits and pieces got through or didn't get through. Fragments, not everything's going to be perfect.
Right.
Fading through the black hole.
And also, so they said that it was a what decay? A
vacuum decay.
Vacuum decay. So, I mean, I'm stupid, so I don't really know what a vacuum decay is.
I guess to put it in the simplest terms that I can, because it is definitely a lot, a vacuum decay would basically be the universe collapsing in on itself while also creating a whole new universe. But if we're in a false vacuum, that means that potentially we're in between both the new and the old, and anything could spiral us into the new. But the fact is, if we were to spiral into a new universe, it would either incinerate us or it's possible to sustain life, in which case we wouldn't know what would happen.
So if it's sustained, well, obviously, okay, so since we're not incinerated, first of all, since I'm here talking to you and you're here talking to me, that would mean that if it did happen, and that it would have sustained life at that point. One of two things is going to happen. You either die from being blown the fuck up, or you live from just kind of annexing into this new universe. What happened to the Earth of this universe that we annexed into? Like, why would they not be affected by themselves entering their own universe? But on their own planet, but not the planet that they're on.
And that's one of the biggest things, though, for physicists at this point, is the fact if we were to actually go from the false vacuum into the new vacuum, per se, we would have to actually fully understand going into a multiverse and what the multiverse is in itself.
What if the Earth just, like, crashed into the other Earth, and it was just, like, a big, like, Venn diagram in the sky?
So now we're two Earths.
Just like.
So is there another Daniel out there that I haven't met yet?
Well, I mean, like,
on the other side of our Venn diagram of Earth. Is that what I'm over there?
You like gotta like go across the ocean. And you'll like go down towards like the middle, and then you'll have to like go back up to like slope back.
Potential of falling into space at that point, or is it just like is there a bridge going between the both? How's that working, Josh?
How would you build that bridge? Like, if there was a bridge,
space bridge, a little space bridge action. What do we got going on there, Josh?
The Space Force would take care of that.
Oh, is that our military? Space military.
The Space Force would take care of that.
Space is on the case.
Chase is on the case. That shit was fucking hilarious.
But that is an interesting thought. So if there is a multiverse, we don't know exactly if there would be another one of us in the other universe. So if we came into this whole new universe, and that's what they're saying too, is we might be in a false vacuum. So it might be in the fact that we were in between both states, which could be potentially bad, which means we could potentially fall into a true vacuum, which would then incinerate us.
Is there an expiration date on that? Like,
no.
Like, are we just going to be in the middle area forever is what I'm saying? Like, how long until we find out whether we're incinerated or we're in a new universe?
The thing is, they don't know, because the calculations were created a while ago, and the fact is the world's constantly changing, and we're learning more about space each day.
Are we, though? I mean, like, we kind of are, don't get me wrong. But, like, are we, though? Like, we're still, like, haven't been to the moon since, like, 19-something.
What's the moon gonna do for us, though?
Not shit, but it's not like we're going anywhere else. I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, you have a fair point. We're not doing too much to explore out there. That's what we have the space military for.
The Space Force, they're gonna help out. They're gonna explore the whole space.
They're there to conquer and possibly actually kill us
But see,
all.
do you not think that that's exactly what it is? Like, if there's, like, a Space Force and they're, like, looking for life out there, exploring planets, do you not think that they're gonna pull up and just be like, surrender, we're here to fuck you up? Like,
but then I feel like they would die. I mean, it depends.
Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know what other life is like. But at that point, wouldn't you just be a parasite?
I mean, we are parasites.
That's what I'm saying. At that point, you'd be like the villain in every movie that's going from planet to planet. We're a species here to conquer. Then we're the aliens that are coming.
Exactly.
We're gonna invade your land.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. So it's like, but that's what I'm trying to say. It's like we're afraid. I mean, not everybody, because not everybody believes that there's life out there, but people that do believe that there's life out there are afraid that one day there's going to be a big old ship in the sky that comes and starts shooting some guns, and you have nothing you can do about it. You're dying. Sorry, it's the end of the world.
What if we're those people?
But why do you think that we're not those people? That's what I'm saying. We are those people. Like, if we go to another planet, we're going to be the first people to be like, surrender, give us all your women, give us all your gold, whatever you got, anything that you find valuable, we want it, and surrender to us. You're our slaves now. You can come with us. We're going to take over this planet. We're going to move all our humans here because we destroyed our Earth. Sorry, but this is just the way shit works.
What if every movie that we made about aliens is foreshadowing our own dumb, like we're coming in,
That's
and
what
then
I'm
we
saying.
end up dying though. Then it's just, we killed the aliens, but that's us.
That's what I'm saying.
The whole point is like, yeah.
It's like in all the movies we make, the humans end up on top of the aliens, but like when we go over there, we're the humans and the aliens, so like we're ending up on the bottom.
We're probably gonna take that loss.
Damn.
Crazy thought though.
Definitely a crazy thought.
And I mean, if the world didn't end, I don't know where. It'd be a crazy thought because think about it. If our conscience was to come over here, all of us are not on the same page now, so none of us are going to remember things as the same.
Right.
I guarantee you can barely remember shit that happened months ago.
Yesterday.
Exactly. Exactly my point. Most people, hey, I've met so many people, I'll bring up a moment, I forgot that even happened. So who's to say Bernstein Bears, if we're going into a whole nother black hole, that's going to rearrange some people's thoughts on things.
That's for
You're
sure.
not going to remember that. But also to say, some people believe that 2012, like we had said, wasn't just the end of the world. It was just the ending of a period of time.
Right.
If you look at the Mayan calendar, people say it's just the end of the calendar. But who's to say that point in time wasn't a shift? It didn't have to be us going into a black hole or it being the ending of the world. But 2012 was a weird shift. And to say the least, you can say that it was a weird time. After 2012, a big shift did happen. And we all kind of, I guess, a little bit of weirdness happened. Things got a little weird after that.
A lot of things changed since then.
Things got more hectic.
Very hectic. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily so if we went through this black hole in 2012, you could conceive it as being something like, people would like to think that if you're going through a black hole, you're going to die, right? Well, why do you think that? I mean, it could just have been something that rearranged your reality. Something that blasted you into a reality that you don't necessarily understand. It's based off of Terence McKenna's theory. He created a time wave zero formula. Basically, understand this concept, you can imagine a tape, like a VHS tape, the tape inside of that wrapped up in a spiral. And time goes around and round in smaller and smaller loops until it eventually runs out. That's his theory, that it can get to the end of time. That being said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of life. It just means it's like a stagnation of evolution, which means that you could get to a point where it doesn't necessarily mean reality's over. It could just be rearranged to a certain extent to where things are so different that it can cause people to be outraged and people to have certain feelings on certain things. And life, as you know, it could become strange. And as it's been in the past 7 to 8 years have been extremely strange, in my opinion.
I completely agree. You see so much stuff going on in the media. And I mean, the internet and everything that's come with technology and how it's advanced over the years, of course, is a great contribution. But we had that up to 2012. From the 90s to 2012, we had that. But from 2012 to now, it's been escalated, increasingly worse and worse, in my opinion. Or, in ways it's been better, but there's been a lot of bad things that have been happening as well.
It's technologically, it's been better, but socially, it's been extremely worse.
Because we're seeing so much going on now, and
yeah.
I think we're not all on the same page, and it's weird to think. I read this other thing as well that kind of explains what their take on why it's like that. It wasn't anywhere close to it being the end of the world or anything as a conspiracy of that. It was more of an astrological way of looking at it, and the fact that the way the world tilts when it spins on its axis, it's pointed towards one constellation. So, at one point from it's 2000 before AD or 2000 AC and then to 0 AD. I'm not great with astrology, by the way, but up until the point 0 AD, it was the age of Aries.
Right.
But then from 0 AD
to 2000
to now, or no,
AD.
2012 to 2011, 2012, from 0
Right.
AD to 2011, 2012 is the age of Pisces.
Because it was rumored to be November 11, 2011, 11/11/11, but then it was also rumored to be December 12th of 2012. So
Which either way, it's in the same period.
Correct, but that was the age of Pisces, and it ended that, and now we're in the age of Aquarius, correct?
Yes, the age of Aquarius, which would be the shift from old beliefs, which before 2012, 0 AD to that point, it was basically finding your foundation, finding your place, what you believe in, such as, your political views, your work. Because, people took pride in what their job was. People took pride in what their political views were. This is my family name. This is what this matters, And we're going into the age of Aquarius is more of an independent, who we are, age of information,
Right.
We're figuring out who we are. It's not about this is what this is and this is what this is, so I'm right. It's more so, who am I? I'm my own engine. I'm going to fuel myself to go because I have information at my fingertips, so I can figure anything out. I don't need to rely on all these other things. I can rely on myself.
Right. See, but my only question is like, why does that mean that? Like, just because we are like a year past and now it's a new age of a new constellation, but like, why does that mean something? Like, who's the person behind the computer, like typing this up and saying this is what being an Aquarius means, and this is what in the Aquarian age means, and this is what the Piscean age means, and this is what being a Pisces means. Like, who determines that shit and how?
Well, there's people who have studied. It's just as if you look at science or scientists, past theories, basis. How do they come up with that? Years of research, years of study. You have people who study the science of stars and the effects of how the stars affect us, which is strange to say, astrology is going to, because you were born at this time, is going to affect you. But if you believe in the fact of the universe or, cosmic being, who's to say when you come out into the universe at a certain time that's not going to affect who you are because of the way everything was at, like,
Well, wouldn't you, when you say who's to say that, wouldn't you be the one to say that? I mean, like, are you defined by the time that you were born? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't that like kind of put a damper on free will?
I wouldn't say it defines who you are. What I'm saying is that you might tend to have certain characteristics more so because of what time you were born and what you're made of.
But doesn't that put a damper on free will?
No, it doesn't.
Why?
Because you're still given the chance to make your own decisions, and you're still given the chance to act as you want to.
But are you saying that, like, scientifically, because you were born at this time, you trend towards deciding this over this?
I'm saying I might trend to be a more energetic person because of the time I was born. It's not necessarily the fact of what I think, but more of actions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You may be a person who tends to lean more towards knowledge, or you may tend to be a person who leans towards more as a talkative person, or someone who tends to be a more open-minded person, or someone who tends to be more of a introverted person.
Inverted person.
You're inside out. You're inverted. But you may tend to be more of an introverted person, and it's just small characteristics. It's not saying this is who you have to be. It's just something you may tend to be more, but you always have that ability to still change yourself.
I feel that, but it's kind of like, I guess, maybe I haven't talked to any doctors that, I guess, study astrology. I don't know if that exists.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I haven't talked to any of those people. The people I have talked to who believe in astrology and are, like, very passionate about it and try to, like, push that shit, they seem very stupid to me for the simple fact that it may not be something that defines them, but it's like they allow it to be almost, and they want you to allow it to be.
That's different.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is, like, that's almost like why it seems like more bullshit, just because of the main people that push that shit and look like they're feeding you bullshit.
The way I see it is, if you're a person who believes, not everyone's going to believe this. You have atheists out there who are going to say, I make my own life, which is absolutely true regardless of what you do. You're going to set yourself up to be in positions and create opportunity, but I'm also a firm believer that the universe is going to bring you where you need to be as long as you take the effort to bring yourself to where you need to be. It's coming into yourself and becoming one with yourself to allow yourself to be where you need to be. And where I'm going with this is the fact when you're born, you're born exactly at the time you're supposed to be born. You're coming into the world at a specific point in time when the universe everything's aligned at a certain point. So for you to say that necessarily doesn't affect you is like saying the moon, whenever it's full, doesn't affect the gravity of the earth.
So what about people that are born early, like C-sections that have to happen like 6 months into the pregnancy? Like, was that mother supposed to have a C-section? Was that baby supposed to be born early? Like,
I would, my personal opinion, say absolutely yes.
Really? That's tough. It's
It's
like,
tough to say
what
that.
about like late like term pregnancy? Like whenever like you have like a baby that's born like 11 months.
It's saying
like,
this. You could have been born earlier, but you were born late. It's pretty much the same as saying you could have died a certain day, but just by an inch,
but
you
isn't that
dodged
like a
the
birth
bullet.
defect though?
What about a birth defect?
Isn't that a birth defect like
Being born late?
or early?
No.
Really?
It doesn't necessarily
Doesn't it cause birth defects?
It may, but it doesn't mean it always will. I was born 2 weeks early. I was born 2 weeks early.
Okay, see that's different than 3 months early. That's what I'm talking about.
That definitely could cause. Yeah,
That's what I'm
that
talking
could
about.
definitely
It's like
cause
fully. The
defects.
baby's not even fully developed yet, like completely yet. Like the brain. I don't know. I'm not that smart as far as biology goes, but that's what I'm saying. Is like if a baby's born 6 months early, is that baby still defined by the astrology on the day that it was born and the time? You know what I mean? Or not 6 months, 3 months early. It's weird, right?
In a way, but it's not going to have the mindset in order to necessarily fulfill all of those characteristics because it doesn't have full use of its brain at that point. If that's the case, you know what I mean?
No.
You don't know. What I'm saying.
I'm trying to.
It's the fact. Okay, so I'm going to explain this for everyone and for Josh here. If you're sitting there, we have more capabilities to use our brain. But if you have a defect where it's not allowing you to use that, you're not going to necessarily be able to come to fruition
Right.
those characteristics that so quote-unquote astrology gives you. Which I'm not saying astrology is 100% because it's not 100% proven. It's a science.
It's almost. Is it a pseudoscience?
Some would say.
I would say.
Some exactly.
I'd raise my hand on that vote.
Some believe that it's a true science. It really is. It's a crazy thing to think about. But if you look at it, a lot of it makes sense though, because the whole Piscean age, like
Isn't
I said,
it supposed to make sense since it's made by humans and we're human? I mean, like, isn't it supposed to make sense?
I mean, just because you're a human saying something
think
doesn't
that-
mean you make sense.
you make sense to somebody, or probably a lot of people. Like, look at Christianity. I mean,
You got a fair point there.
like I remember my dad saying, like, telling me when I was young, whenever I would like doubt like Christianity or doubt like things about like just like religion in general, and he would tell me like, what do you think, like over freaking billions of people in the world that believe in this, they're just all like just believing something for no reason? I said, I mean, like, maybe, like, I don't know, probably. That's probably how it started. It probably started with just like a few idiots that didn't know anywhere their place in life, and somebody was like, I got you, follow me, what's good, we can make some shit happen as long as you listen to me and do everything that I say. And at that point, they tell their friends, hey, I'm being taken care of. All we got to do is do this nigga's laundry, wash his car, all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, it's just like, why not? Like, why not believe what he says? He's helping me out. He's paying my bills, putting food on the table.
I mean, pretty much, it's a little off topic here.
A little bit, but...
A little bit off topic, but I'm going to just say this because it's always an interesting thing. Is that Christianity actually, the popularity came about in the Roman Empire.
Right.
During the start of it. It was one of the kings. I wish I could remember his name. But he basically...
King Galifianakis.
You're definitely wrong. But to sustain, his dominance and as a king and prolong his throne, his spot at the throne, he tagged along with Christianity because it promised an afterlife when most other religions at that time didn't. And most other religions had multiple gods. This one had one. And it promised an afterlife, and it wasn't as strict, saying you can wear whatever you want, you do whatever you want, as long as you ask for forgiveness, as long as you do this, as long as you do that. And, that helped them, too, and that's where they brought along church and state, too. So, along with the church, was power as well. So, they had power within the church. They could tell people what to do, and they would do it so that they were promised this afterlife.
Correct.
That was there.
It's for control.
So, I get what you're saying is that you can't necessarily believe it. What I'm also saying is if you believe in the universe, even if you don't believe in God, you believe the universe is laid out the way it's supposed to. You know what I mean? It has a purpose to it. Everything that is in the universe may not everything doesn't have to have a specific meaning. Right. But it's there for a reason.
Correct.
Why else would it be there?
My point is, who are you to define that reason?
I mean, no one is.
But some people try to be though. That's what I'm saying.
We're all here to figure out what life is, though.
I guess.
And so to say that we don't know, and that's why some people believe the world didn't. We're all trying to figure out what's going on, and it does seem weird, and that's where these theories do come along. Is why are things the way they are? Why have things come to be? And that's honestly probably one of the better ideas, if anything, is that we've gone from an age, and what it was saying, what I was trying to get across to you, is that it's saying it was all these are our beliefs, and we have to stand behind these, and we're going into an age of information to where people are saying, I can believe what I want to, I have information at my fingertips, I can look at facts for myself, idiot. Like, you're telling me all this
But they don't, though,
because
most
back,
of the time.
I mean, yeah, but, a while ago, you didn't have all that information at your fingertips.
That's true.
So you had to believe whatever the guy before you said, this is right. I mean, all right. I guess.
I mean, you didn't have to, but a lot of people did because they didn't have, like, a lot of options. Like, you always had the option to be like, fuck this guy. Like, that was never not an option. Like, even before phones and the computers were invented, they still had presidential elections where they still had to fucking, like, say, hey, I'm going for president. Hey, I'm going for president. You guys got to vote for one of us. Figure it out. Still have the option to not vote. Like, no matter what. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so at that point, it's like, you don't have to follow these people. I see what you're saying. It's like, whenever somebody's, like, that's how it is. Like,
that's how you learn then, though. Is you learn more so
like,
from the people above you because you didn't have as much resources to
As
learn.
an analogy, it's like the first dude to create fire. Like, I'm a god now. I created fire. None of y'all can create fire, right? I create fire. I can do that. Y'all can't create fire. I'm your god now. I'm the fire god. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of that simple back in the gap.
And that's kind of where I'm going with it as well. Is you had to almost, you didn't have to, but most people weren't reading books. Half people couldn't even read at some point.
That's
even
true.
The 18th century, 19th century, 20, even part of the 20th centuries. Today, people still don't even know how to read.
Bro, one of the most, like, funny, like, vines that used to be out was that, hi, my name's Jared. I'm 14 and I don't know how to read. Bro, there was people that are out here fucking 44. Hi, my name's Jared. I'm 44 and I don't know how to read. Like, straight up. Like, and that was a lot of people.
And that's how you gained most of your knowledge during those days was reading, because very few people could read or write. So the chances of you actually learning anything from that was slim. So people were going, if your dad, your grandfather, your teachers were telling you something, 9 times out of 10, that's what was truth. But we're going into a new age now, is what it's saying as well, is from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, we're going into an age of knowledge, where each of us can come up with our own opinions, our own, not even just opinions, you have the facts there. So no one can just tell you, this is what it is. Oh yeah, dude, Google tells me that you're wrong. And I believe Google more than I believe you. There's facts and there's things backing this up. It's in MLA format. It's got citations in it. You're wrong. So you can't just tell me that this is right and me believe it. And
you can't believe everything that's on the internet, but yeah, like, honestly, I believe a lot more about it that's like I can read on my phone than I do somebody that's in front of me that I don't really trust that much.
And with it changing, a lot of people want to stick in the past, which is why things are going chaotic. And that's what people saying is accounting for all this chaos that's going on now, and all of these deaths and killings and people rioting and people getting angry and all the aggressiveness that's going on, is because the people that don't want to change and the people sticking with the quote-unquote glory days of what things used to be, because that's what they're used to. And people are sticking with the people who are thinking the same thing.
They weren't glorious for everybody.
That's what I'm saying, is exactly. So people are sticking with the like-minded people in their cases because they want things to stay the way they are.
Well, that's that groupthink shit. That's that.
Because people don't want to think for themselves,
Well,
and that's the problem.
That is a big problem for sure.
Is all these people who are so used to this whole group think of, I'm going to listen to the guy before me. Oh, now you don't want to listen to me because this is what I was told from these people who were told from these people.
That's that.
Mom said. Mom said. Let mom said.
You got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
Shit was fucking hilarious.
And that makes sense to me, even though, you may not believe in astrology, because I'm not saying that it's the truth, but they have a fair point. And they had, of course, who knows where they got the information from, but most of those people actually study that stuff, and they got it from somewhere. Even if it's a basis of what happened in the past and a basis of what's now to predict the future, at some point that's still research, and that's a science. It's still a science to a degree, because they're basing stuff off of what has happened, gathering information of what's happening now, and then predicting an outcome, a hypothesis, so to speak, which is still science. at the end of the day.
I guess it's kind of a science, but it seems like it's mostly based off of opinions, like more than anything. Like you could say it's based off of facts, but like what are the facts? Like they have like 12 people in a room, all 12 of them are different signs. They just fucking study their fucking whole life. You know what I mean? Like what? Like how do you
study the stars, study positions?
But what is that? That's what I'm saying. Like, are you saying that all Aquariuses that were born on what a month is Aquarius? Sorry.
That I
okay, all Aries that were born between March 21st or
yeah, it's March 21st.
March 21st and June 20th.
It's through April.
Sorry,
21st.
April 20th. That's
it's
what
1 month. Each
yeah,
astrology.
You're right. I know
that.
I know
so
that.
It's March
I got
21st.
my months fucked up. I
You're
thought I was
doing
thinking May. Sorry.
Way past it.
Anyways, you telling me that all the people born on fucking March 22nd at 2:00 in the morning are all gonna have the exact same traits?
No, but
do you know what I mean? Like, or
22nd,
trend towards the exact same things.
Well,
like that's difficult.
If you're
that's
born that
problematic.
early, if you're born that early in the astrology, you're gonna have some characteristics of the one before you.
Okay, fucking March 28th, 29th, 30th, whatever.
That's me.
April,
Hi everybody, I'm in Aries.
April 1st, it's April Fool's Day. Guess what? You're born at fucking 4 a.m. Now you're definitely a fucking Aries, right?
I have similar characteristics.
You're definitely a fucking Aries, right? So all the people that were born at 4:00 in the morning on April Fool's Day throughout history are all gonna have similar characteristics or trends, or like how does that work? It seems problematic, you know what I mean? Just with the fact that there's so many fucking people on the earth.
You're right. There's gonna be an exception to every rule. It's not gonna be 100%. No scientific thing is 100% regardless.
That's not true. There's laws that are 100%. I guarantee if you jump off a building, you will fall, and that is gravity, sir.
But
so
they've
like,
also defied the laws of gravity.
Like they've created like anti-gravity fields, but that's not necessarily, that's a law. Like gravity is still a law. Defying that law is creating something that's artificial.
And what I'm saying, they're creating something
in the
regardless.
natural
It's
world,
not
gravity
artificial
is
because they're
a law.
creating it with things that are there. So it's not. It may be artificial, but they're still creating something with things that are there. So they're defying a law. Am I right or wrong?
You are right.
They're defying a law, correct?
You are correct.
So to
but
say
is
if
it now the theory of gravity now? Is that what it is?
No, but
but it's a law. Then fuck you.
Okay, but so if astrology is a law, are there not going to be people that will defy that law? Is there not a case where something can be created in order to defy that law, that is law? But from what you just said, based off of that logic, would you not be able to defy something that is that law? If that is the case.
Okay, so that makes sense what you're saying, but by any stretch of the imagination, are you trying to say that astrology is a scientific law? That's what I'm saying.
No, but
it's already defiable because it's not a law. First of all, 100%. That's true. Based on what?
Based on just it being right for most people.
But
you can't say
the
it's
fact
wrong.
that it's not all people makes it not a law. What are you talking about?
You can say it's not right, but you can also say that it is. Because it could go for a lot of people, but also at the same time, you could say it's not true because you're different. So either
That's
way.
like saying broccoli's nasty because a lot of people don't eat it. Fuck you!
All I'm trying to say, Josh, you don't gotta be an asshole about it, is that the world is changing, dude. Whether it's the end of the world or whether it's the Piscean age, change is coming, and we just gotta accept it.
Well,
and things are feeling different.
Well, did it already come or is it coming? That's what I'm saying. Like, so I mean, we could get incinerated or we could get blasted into a whole other universe. But I thought we already did get blasted into another universe. I thought that was the thing with the Mandela effect. So if that's the case, then we didn't get incinerated. We're already here, so it already happened. So we just got to deal with this shit now, right? We're in a vacuum decay. Fuck yeah, we're gonna decay, guys. Say goodbye to your loved ones.
At the end of the day, a lot of things have happened since 2012, and we can put it on whatever we want. And it may be a shit storm, maybe a lot of things. You can say it's astrology. You can say it's the end has happened. It's an interesting thought. That's just on me. The whole thing was interesting because you could look at it and think, wow, a lot of things have happened, and why do a lot of us remember a certain thing happen, and why is things the way they are now when people believe them to be something else?
Just remember that it's Stephen Hawking's fault for everything. He did this to us, and if anything happens worse, he's not going to be around to see what he did, so, well,
My question is, where are we going now?
I mean, who the fuck
where are we
knows?
headed?
We didn't even know we would get here. So how the fuck are we gonna understand where we're at? Now? I was listening to I forgot who was on the podcast with Joe Rogan, but they were talking about how like by 2042, like the way that technology is moving and like how rapid things are changing. By 2042, that literally like reality will be indiscernible from what it is today. Like everything will be completely different. Like I don't know if that's correct or I might be butchering it, but that's basically like the idea that technology is only gonna like what's the word it's only gonna exponentially increase in like advancements.
So basically, is what it is. 2012 might have been the first wave of that we saw.
I'm not saying
it's just gonna
right.
like you said, it's exponential.
Right.
So it's just gonna get faster and faster. So then it's gonna be 2042, and who's to say it won't be 2062 after that?
Well,
20 years, then 10 years.
That would go with that idea that we saw when we were like doing some research about the turtle theory, that like you could think of like reality in time like
As
being a turtle on the back of a turtle, and there's a smaller turtle on the back of that turtle, and there's a smaller turtle on the back of that turtle. And we're just going through these levels.
Going through these levels of evolution or through life, and these maybe
potentially evolution.
Maybe we are in a multiverse, or maybe we're just not used to how fast things are changing and how crazy things are getting and the way that we are evolving. Because since the birth of technology, we've evolved in weird ways, none of which were what we thought. It's not flying cars. It's not hoverboards.
I mean, there are flying cars. They're just called helicopters.
It's not the same.
Why?
I guess.
They have tires?
that's fair. But the world is changing, and it exponentially fast.
I forgot who said that. That was somebody's joke. I forgot who it was, but they were like, "We already have helicopters. I mean, they're just loud as shit and cost a hell of a lot of money."
I mean, I'm pretty sure a flying car wouldn't be cheap in the first place.
Exactly. Like, how do you think that bitch is gonna be fueled, motherfucker?
It's a fair point. I mean, I guess you could make a helicopter potentially that looks like a car.
Well, I would think what's next is like a helicopter that like runs like a Tesla, like off of like energy.
I mean, they've already made stuff like that. Free energy is supposedly a thing. That's another theory if you haven't.
That's for another podcast.
That's for another day. But honestly, that's a big one I want to talk about. Free energy.
We'll get into that.
It actually started with Tesla, which is a weird thing as well.
Definitely so.
A whole another thing.
We can go into a whole podcast about Elon's discoveries.
A lot of different discoveries. The world's a big place.
For sure.
So, I mean, keep your mind open. I guess that's what more so our point was here. Keep your mind open. Change is coming. It's happening fast. It's only going to get faster. So, instead of holding on to the past like a bunch of assholes, fucking buckle down.
My point is that change is already here. So, guess what? No time to prepare. Just get yourself fucking situated and get to it. Time to get down to business. Basically, if we were blasted into a universe, there's not much you can do about anything. Just control your own shit. Don't try to control other people. Fuck that shit. You're an asshole if you do that.
Whether the world ended or not, surprise, you're still here, bitch.
Yep. Still got to deal with bullshit. So, hey, congrats. You're a human. We're all human. We all got to deal with it, too.
And if you have anything you want to say, any questions, concerns, any bullshit you want to throw our way, please do. Or any topics you want us to talk about, because we could talk about anything for days or years.
Maybe not years. I don't like this guy that much.
Fair enough. Alright, well, you've listened to us, I guess, long enough at this point.
But guess Daniel. What? We're far from finished, and I'm Josh.
Have a great day, everybody.
Later, bitches.